All right, Jacob, how's everything going, man?
Great. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's I haven't recorded in a while, so if my interviewing skills are have atrophied, then you'll get to take the brunt of it. So
Well, I'm going to
yeah.
be interviewing you too. I need to. This is a two-way conversation.
Oh yeah, every conversation is a
Oh yeah.
dialogue, hopefully. But yeah, I, my audience isn't familiar with what you do or why you're here. So do you want to say something about your organization and all that?
Yeah, so I'm at UI Charitable,
Mm-hmm.
CTO there, and we try to provide the most flexible donor advice fund. So
Mm-hmm.
for anyone that's not familiar with the donor advice fund, it's uh, very similar to a foundation, except for you are giving funds to a 501c3 nonprofit,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can go ahead and advise on those funds
Mm-hmm.
forever until
Mm,
they so you can invest them, you
mhm,
can hold in kind. We're actually the very first donor advice fund that will allow you to hold Bitcoin or
mhm,
other crypto in kind and then deploy it
mhm,
in kind as well.
mm. Okay, so it's a big topic because
It is, it's deep and there's a lot that goes into it. So
yeah, and there I'm sure there's a lot of legal minutiae and things like that
oh yeah.
to talk about. But really, I think from sort of like a 50,000 foot view,
Yeah.
the bigger thing for me and something that I've been thinking a lot about as Bitcoin price keeps going up is how do I deploy money in a way that like benefits the world, right? And
Yeah.
that's something that I think anyone with um, a significant amount of money and you know, like you kind of have all your needs met for roughly,
Exactly.
right? Like what
Yeah.
what what do you do with it? And I've heard this from a lot of people that I respect that are fairly well off that it's harder to give money away and to
Yeah.
do it properly than to earn it in the first place. So, can you talk a little
That's
bit
true.
about that and like
Yeah.
how you even think about it?
So that's actually one of the reasons that I got uh, started working at UI Charitable
Mm,
was that I wanted to learn how to deploy efficiently.
mm,
And I mean, to be completely honest with you, I still don't know if I have the most optimal answer there.
mm.
In the very beginning, I thought that I knew exactly how to do it. And then I went and worked at a 501c3 and realized that no, I have no idea how to deploy it efficiently. And I'd say 99% of charities are somewhat of a failure.
Mm.
And then you've got 1% that's really just changing the world, and it's that's what you want to replicate. Um,
Well, let's talk about that. What
yeah,
what what makes most charities? You said like 99%
yeah,
are failures. Let's talk about that. How are they failures? Where do they fail? And what what is it about the system that
yeah.
makes failure so common?
What do you think of when you hear the word charity?
You give money to some poor widow or something like that. That's what I think of.
Okay. What do you think about when you think of who's running a charity?
I think of a liberal arts major that that's you know like has a heart of gold and cares about like all these poor people and
Yeah,
tries very hard, but maybe isn't that effective. Something like that.
that's about right. So, so when you have a $500,000 in operational
Mm,
expenses just
mm,
that go along with running a business,
mm,
and then you have someone that's a liberal arts major that wants to change the world,
mm,
they really can't get around to changing the world because they're so busy running and operating the charity.
mm,
And no one ever feels like they've got the finances to hire an accountant and
mm,
CPA to do their Form 990 and so on and
mhm,
so forth. But what you said originally is really right, spot on. Most people think of slow,
mhm,
underpaid, and not very effective when they think of charity.
mm,
Really, that's the other 1% is going to be totally different.
mm,
They have somewhat of a sustainable model, so they
mm,
don't have to constantly fundraise,
mm,
and they have a team that is um, together. They
mm,
work together, and they pay somewhat competitively with any other company,
mm,
so they can get good talent.
mm. So are you suggesting that the talent at a lot of these charities is maybe a little lacking?
It's definitely lacking.
Mm.
Sorry, just throwing that on do not disturb.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say the charities that are really working, they're ran by business executives. They're people that have already succeeded in the traditional entrepreneurial world, and now they've applied that same skill set to the nonprofit world.
Mm.
I recently actually just went out to Ukraine,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the individuals that we work with, and he won't care if I name drop here, his name is Deloy Hansen. He's one of the most charitable guys I've ever met. He was very successful in as a developer in the States, and then decided that he was going to build 1,250 homes for Ukrainian individuals that have been uprooted and affected by the war. He has been much more successful than any nonprofit that I've seen that's building homes with the same budget. So
okay, so same amount of money, two different organizations. One is super effective, one's not. And so what makes one so successful where one does not? Like, is it just know-how, or is it talent? What's the difference between those two organizations, and how can we, as people that are trying to give to the right ones, be able to identify which one is effective?
Well, it's both. It's the know-how and the talent, and good talent's going to have the know-how. In order for you to really find which one is being successful, it's about tracking the consequences. So if you have a nonprofit that's trying to solve for clean water, are you going to track the clean water, or are you going to track the life saved from waterborne illness? As soon as you can figure out what the consequences are, and you can see what that charity is actually, how it's making a difference by their consequences, and not just what they say, we've provided 10,000 gallons of clean water. That's usually the most productive way of finding a successful charity. Yeah,
well, how do you even verify that, right? Like, this is something that we say in Bitcoin is verify, don't trust. Exactly. And oftentimes, like, what I find with charities is that, and I've donated to various causes throughout my life, and you'll get like some email newsletter usually, and it says, we did this, we did this, we did this, and it's like, well, I'm kind of just having to take your word for it, right? Like, how do you even measure how many gallons of clean water that, like, how do they even measure that? And then how am I supposed to verify that they actually got that many gallons of water? Or if they say, okay, well, we reduce like malaria by this much in this region, it's like, well, like, how do you even collect the statistics for that? Like, it seems like almost like an intractable problem figuring out how to even measure success in a lot of these charities.
I think that's what most deal with. And that's where you've got the 99% that really aren't very successful. That other 1%, they are going to track their consequences, and they're going to be able to show what the absolute outcome is. They're very oriented around KPIs, the same exact thing that you'd be looking for in any traditional startup or traditional finance world.
So the metrics that you choose, but like, again, how do you track those, or how do you verify those, or how can I, as somebody that's giving, I mean, the charity can say whatever they want, right? Oftentimes it's like, oh, we saved this many people from sexual slavery or something, and it's like, okay, like, how do I even go about verifying whether this is true, or you're just kind of making up numbers? Like, I have no idea, right? Because I don't have boots on the ground in Uganda or wherever it is, right? Like, how am I supposed to figure that out? And how do I, like, what tools can I get access to that would help me verify any of that stuff?
So that's something that we've actually put a pretty significant amount of time into, and we employ students to go and verify. for individuals. So we found the lucky number to be around 7%. If a nonprofit sets aside 7% of their funds to track their consequences and their outcomes, that's usually at least enough capital for us to do a pretty in-depth dive from a third-party perspective into what their actual outcomes look like. I guess going back just a little bit, I think it'd probably be good to, you mentioned that you support some charities. What kind of charities do you support?
A lot of them are like the sexual slavery one in Uganda. That's actually one that I'm supporting. Is like trying to take these sexually trafficked women out from sexual slavery and like having them do something productive. That's a charity that I support. There's other ones that are related to abortion, for example, right? Just like saving, like making it so that women feel like they have another choice. And doing stuff like that. There's what else? There's a lot of them are related to my faith. So a lot of missionaries and people like that. But yeah, those would be more the kind that I do currently. And honestly, like I try not to give to big organizations if I can help it, just because it feels like there's probably going to be more bureaucratic overhead, whereas people that I know directly, I have a relationship with them, so I can at least lean in on that rather than having to go and verify, right? Like this to me is like the intractable problem, is that if you're forced to trust a big organization, then like you need some verification side channel so that you can verify that they're actually doing it and not sort of wasting the money that you're sending them, or paying a bunch of administrative staff that are unnecessary and just sort of lying to you. Like that's
like where does the money go? You want to be able to see the direct consequences, really. Maybe going back a little bit, even deeper, I think it'd be good to earlier, and this was off camera, but you mentioned the $50,000 and you're gonna go buy some boots, and $100,000 it was a rifle. Maybe we shouldn't talk about guns here, but so what if it hits $1 million and you've got to go and deploy? And I'm assuming, or maybe you hold forever, but
I mean,
how do you deploy 90% and make an impact?
Yeah, that's why I'm talking to you, right? Like this is like, and I've talked to a bunch of people that have given away a lot of money, and like, they all tell me this is the big problem, is trying to figure out like what kind of impact given charity is making, and whether like, and that verification process is actually like not easy, right? No. Like I wish I had a better answer, right? Like I wish there was just like, it would be so much easier if I could just write a check somewhere and just not worry about it. And I think a lot of people do that. But like, if it ends up like actually making things worse, and I've read about charities that actually make things worse, right? Like where they'll like they'll try to clothe people in a particular area, and they give away the clothes for free, and they end up like destroying the local economy for clothing. In which case, like, okay, that actually kind of made things worse because you put a bunch of people out of jobs and stuff like that. So
how much time, how much does it matter to you? I mean, you've obviously been successful, at least in the Bitcoin world. You've written several books, got the podcast. Would you be willing to put that amount of time and effort into your impact and your giving? I
mean, I think I kind of have to. Everyone that I've talked to about this says that it's actually more work than earning it, right? So it's like, then if I want to give money away, then I'm gonna have to work at least that hard, and it's a little frightening, honestly,
It is.
because like, I work this hard to make this much money, but Bitcoin's grown so much that it's like, okay, if I'm going to give it away, then I'm going to have to work like 10 times harder, right? Like yeah.
I really think that's probably the key to success, at least in your legacy and global impact, is most likely you getting more and more involved.
Mm.
And maybe taking a step backwards. Should I? So we are the very first. We're the first Bitcoin DAF. But there's a reason that we got here. I was always very technically inclined as a kid. So in 2010, I started mining on my parents' Dell XPS, and I mean, maybe this is just a catch, but for me, there was this guy around the corner from us. He had a tank parked out front. I found out the only way to buy a tank is you got to get on Tor, and you got to get on and find the darknet option for buying a tank online. And the only form of currency that was accepted for a tank was Bitcoin. And so I started mining, and then realized there's no way I'm ever going to afford a tank, even though I'm mining this every day. And I instead tried to settle for like AK-47s because and that was, I mean, this is 15 years ago for me. I'm 28 now. I was 13 at the time. There's no way I could go into a gun store and buy a rifle. But I could go on and buy AK-47 somehow. They never showed up, but I consistently mine. I'd do surveys every single day to try to buy too until 2012. And then I ended up, because of faith, I ended up going out actually as a missionary. And it was in Tonga. You know where Tonga is?
Yeah. I think it's a Southeast Asian country, right? Or
it's Pacific, so it's actually in the South Pacific, in between New Zealand and Fiji.
Okay, yeah.
But went out there from Utah, so went on. It was like a Mormon mission. If you've ever seen the guys that show up at your house,
No, I'm familiar with Mormons.
But I wasn't really ready to go and teach. What they wanted me to teach. So I ended up going out to. I asked the leader, mission president, if I could just go out and do service, which seems like you're a very faith aligned Christian. I think Christ led really a wonderful example, and a lot of it was through service. I went out and did service on this island group called Ha'afeva. It's 26 different islands, and they're tiny. It was like 2 8-hour plane rides, and then a 1-hour boat ride, and then another 9-hour boat ride, that kind of deal out.
Oh, wow.
Each of these islands, I think maximum population was about 60 people. So for a bit, I was bored out of my mind, and then started helping them. But eventually I ended up lining up with the Australian New Zealand government to give us 350 water tanks, 10,000 liter water tanks. So I started delivering those, and did that for 2 years. Came back home and said, that's the most, that's the warm fuzzy. It's just very meaningful experience seeing these people that they didn't have clean water. They definitely didn't have water. It was just a 5-gallon bucket underneath the roof. And now they had water, and it felt like it gave me quite a bit of meaning to life. And then I got back and I found all my old wallets. And it was...
What year was this? Like when you got back?
When I got back in 2017.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then, from 2017 till 2025, it's just going through all my parents' storage units and trying to find out, where's that computer? And where's that flash drive? And but it really led to how do you want to deploy capital? And can you do it in an effective way? And as I said at the beginning, at the very start, I don't think that I could have done it effectively, even though I in my head I thought I could. But my main mission has been, how can I spur economic growth in Tonga while also preserving the culture and the kind, fun, friendly personality that you get from most of these Polynesian people.
Well, so for you, with this particular, charity, I guess, you have like direct experience and relationships and things like that, which makes verification significantly easier.
Yeah,
right?
it does.
Whereas for most of us, it's like, okay, well, there's a charity over here, a charity over there. I mean, is the answer to maybe be a little more local, right? Or maybe like go with people that or like what's the advice there? Because like your experience seems to be very specific, and the verification aspect of the charitable giving was significantly easier because you had those relationships. Like, is it to develop maybe more of those relationships? What do you think the right thing is here?
I think it's to lean on organizations that will provide that for you, and that's really what we do. And not to become an advertisement here, but it's if you have something that you're passionate about, say it's making sure that abortion's an available option, and you deploy those funds, let's say through your donor advice fund with us, you can deploy it in kind, you can convert it to fiat, and we can send it out, but you will see that it was sent out to the right place, so you can verify the transaction at least happened. And then you can also have us verify that the work being done is going to be successful and that it's happened the right way. But you need to lean on organizations that have made this their expertise. It's really hard to do it on your own.
Yeah, I can imagine. And maybe outsourcing some of the verification makes sense. Yeah. So how much of the capital is used for the verification then? Because you mentioned earlier something like that 7% threshold.
Yeah, for the nonprofit, I think 7% is a good number for the donor, because sometimes nonprofits aren't going to provide you anything. I think a successful nonprofit will always provide you with something. But for the donor themselves, they can go through and they can hire our students and our impact team to go in and do due diligence. And we'll even put boots on the ground if necessary to help you figure it out. And it's students, so you're not going to be paying an outrageous price, but they've been trained well, and this is something they're passionate about.
To do that. Okay, so let's back up a little bit. Like all of those charities that are like the 99% that are completely ineffective. Like, how do you avoid those, right? Like what's because almost every charity has like a good sounding mission, right? And a lot of them have really good sales and marketing departments, so it looks really good when you see it, but then like you find out later that they have 7 executives that are making like $1 million each or something ridiculous, right? Where it's like, okay, there's no way they're deploying things well, and it's like a tool of embezzlement or something like that. What are some signs? What are some tells? Like how can we as people that are giving be able to tell which are the 99%, which are the 1%, I guess?
Have you ever sat on been pitched by some startups that are looking for funds?
Yeah.
It's a similar due diligence process. You're going to look for what they're doing. Can their executive team actually execute? And to be honest with you, I actually don't mind if they have some individuals that are making over $1 million a year. That's fine, but have they created something that's sustainable? Are they doing what a for-profit company could do? They're just structured as a nonprofit without any equity. If it's a 10,000 person nonprofit company, then they've got 7 executives at $1 million a year. That seems about right to me, because of at least the operational expense that goes into it and the expertise that you need. I don't ever want to. Well, again, kind of going back to the very beginning, I think that a good nonprofit should be able to afford and pay for good talent, because you really get what you pay for there.
In terms of talent.
Yeah.
Well, so Let's step back a little bit to the financial aspect of how these charities are run. You mentioned before that the 1% that are really good at this stuff, they have a sustainable model
Yeah.
that they're not constantly fundraising, which is kind of strange to me because almost every charity I know is constantly fundraising.
Yeah.
So, what's the model there? How do they what's a sustainable way? Because it feels like, okay, well, you don't get inputs, you have outputs.
Yeah.
How do you make it so that it's sustainable? What does that even mean?
How do you get that loop?
Yeah.
I guess one example is the Other Side Academy.
Mhm.
It is actually out of Utah, and they have created one of the best sustainable models I've seen.
Mhm.
So they pull in convicts. I
Mhm.
think their average, resident, I think is what they call them, has been arrested over 30 times.
Oof.
And then they try to make them able to re-enter life and society and give them hope.
Mm.
But they aren't constantly fundraising. They've created several businesses where they have a moving company, they have a donut shop, they have just a random assortment of various income producing streams that their residents will work at while they're at the academy. I think that they're I know they're wow, I can't say
Recidivism.
that word. Recidivism it's much better than your traditional jail and but that is a sustainable model, and I think that they run off of a couple $1 million a year budget, and they're able to generate it themselves. There's also going to be some that they're never going to have a sustainable model. And they do rely on fundraising, and I think it's much harder to run a successful nonprofit like that if you are just always focused on fundraising.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, it's kind of like startups that we were talking about earlier, right? Where if you have a CEO that's constantly fundraising, it's going to be very hard to like focus on actual users and stuff like that. But my question to you about these sort of sustainable model charities, I mean, that kind of sounds like a business, right? Is it really like any different than like like if they never fundraise, like how do you even give to them? It's like, here's some more money, go scale. Like what's like, are you even making an impact by like doing that, or are you just like giving them more burdens, right? Like they're doing fine on their own, right? They have a sustainable model. They're helping inmates, or I mean, recently released felons or whatever. Then what? Okay, what are you doing by giving to them? Like, do they even need your money at that point?
So specific to the Other Side Academy, I think they've actually done a very good job at receiving donations as well, and they've expanded into I believe it's called the Other Side Village, and it's something along the lines of it's over 100 houses for the homeless. They're trying to really solve the homeless issue in Salt Lake City, and so that's where you know that you've got executives that can successfully run a business, and they can successfully scale under additional capital, which is really the exact same thing you're looking for in a startup or a Series A, Series B.
But instead of getting equity, you're just like asking them to expand. Is that how
so? And
goes?
that's where they're typically going to have a higher paycheck because there is no equity incentive for your top executives.
I see.
But I do think that charities, I mean, people need to stop seeing a nonprofit as something that is underpaying. You want to hire good people, and you should be willing to put a little money into it.
Yeah, you would think so. Okay, so the best charities, in other words, are kind of profitable.
Yeah, the best charity should be profitable. I
Yeah.
100% agree with that.
Yeah. So, but like our view of charity is that it's actually no, they're not. They need your money because they're
Yeah.
not profitable.
Yeah.
So, like, how do you square that circle? What's your evaluation process if really you're giving to organizations that really don't need it, right? Like it feels off to me that your charity is going towards like stuff like, but at the same time, it feels right because
It does.
you want to bet on the winners, right? Like
Exactly.
it's so. How do you like? Is that a perception issue? What is it?
It might be a little bit of a perception issue, but it's
Mhm.
also, I believe it's something that it's about the structure and what they call it. I mean, you
Mhm.
think nonprofit, you hear nonprofit, you think nonprofit, and you just don't think paychecks that go along with that at all.
Mhm.
What's interesting is that the IRS actually allows you to give to anything that has a charitable intent.
Mm-hmm.
So you could give from a donor advised fund or
Mhm.
and get a tax deduction still.
Mm-hmm.
If you're giving to a for-profit
Mm-hmm.
that is doing something with charitable intent,
Mhm.
could be providing jobs in third world countries.
Mhm.
Some of our largest donations have actually gone to for-profit companies as well.
Mm.
So I don't think that I do think that the nonprofit status
Mhm.
has confused people.
Mm. Mm.
What you really should be looking for is an executive that can execute on the problem that you would like to solve.
I mean, it sounds like a startup evaluation. That's what it feels like to me, right? Where you're looking at the executive team and saying, okay, well, they'll kind of they're very competent and they'll figure it out, rather than okay, the intent is really
Yeah.
really pure or something like that, which is how we tend to evaluate charities.
I think it's 100% the startup team
Mm-hmm.
evaluation, and then it's also what you do next. Like
Mhm.
you're on the board all of a
Mhm.
sudden, and you need to make sure that they're working in the right direction. How can you help them be sustainable?
Mm.
And that's where your expertise comes in. Is if you've built something in the for-profit world, can you apply that same thing? Can you help the nonprofit guide them in a way that they can be successful with the funds that you've given them?
Mm.
But going back a little bit more, I'd really like to dive deeper into how you really find your passion project. Like what is your global impact? And this is what I frequently hear from the Bitcoin community, where you've kind of gone from, I wouldn't say rags to riches, but
not far off.
if you were the
honestly.
techie in the basement and you figured out, oh, I can mine. I think the reward in 2010 was 50 Bitcoin. And I remember it going to 25, and like I was on CPU.
Yeah.
This was back in the CPU days where it was great. But it is life changing, and how do you help someone like that doesn't necessarily have the executive experience of running a business find their passion and deploy capital in a way that is effective?
Yeah, I mean that's an excellent question, because I think that's something that I think everyone has to sort of like look inside themselves about, because it's really like a deep values question, right? Like what is it what is the change that you want to see in the world? And for many of us, I think like the entire journey has been, I don't know, like maturing or something, right? Like you get low time preference traits as a result of holding Bitcoin, right? Like you start thinking about the future. I know a lot of people that have, for example, started, taking out like a lot of bad habits and stuff like that. Like a large number of them like quit alcohol, for example, right? Like stop being in debt. They take their faith seriously. They start, wanting to get married and have kids and all of those things. And they start thinking about long term. And oftentimes, what that ends up being is, okay, well, I'm going to leave my children with a significant amount of wealth, and try to start like a line of like a tribe or something, right? Like
Yeah.
where it's like sustainable or something like that. And that I think that's a good thing, right? Like you're adding people to the world that are ultimately going to make positive impacts as well. But there is that other aspect of, well, what else are you going to do with the money? Because you can just sort of like leave all of it, um, but there's, I don't know, maybe something like noblesse oblige, like coming back, right? With this idea that as somebody that has resources, there's some obligation on your part to help better the rest of the people that aren't as well off. And it's been lost a little bit, I think, under the fiat system, maybe for over the last 100 years or so. And that's like a question that I think a lot of Bitcoiners are having to rediscover. What does noblesse oblige look like, right? Like how do you do that in a way that's useful or sustainable? And I don't know, like what I'm getting out of this conversation is that like we should really treat a lot of the giving kind of like a startup investment, except you're not looking to get rich, you're looking to make the world better, right?
Yeah.
Like make other people like better instead of like a greed motive at the end of the day to like multiply your money. Not like you're looking to make something, and it's nice because that's not an unfamiliar thing for a lot of us that have been in Bitcoin for a while, to evaluate things from sort of a market perspective and have it be much more market driven than, hey, like if you want a virtue signal, go donate over here, right? Like that which is sort of like the fiat model of charity.
One thing that we've done a little bit different
Mm-hmm.
is we've made it so that you can invest
Mm-hmm.
into any type of asset that you'd like.
Mm.
And so you can custody Bitcoin with us.
Mm-mm.
You can use whatever custodian that you want for, you can pull in your financial advisor and have him manage your donor advised fund. But that also means that you can invest into startups as well through your DAF. And you can't necessarily grant any type of startup, but you could go through and you could invest in Microsoft and Apple. You can invest in just about anything that you want through your DAF, but any of those returns are going to go back into the DAF for you to deploy charitably. Going back to, I think one of my original questions though is how would you balance holding versus making your global impact? Why do you think that? I guess what are the reasons that you think people give?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. I think in the fiat world, it's mostly virtue signaling, right? It's like, okay, hey, I want to be seen as a good person, and the most common sort of charitable donations come from people that made money sort of in a not so great way, right? Like Bill and Melinda Gates, for example, right? He made a lot of money, like doing kind of some shading things, and he knew that he was very unpopular. And then he started this charity, and like because of sort of like the IRS rules and so on, like he keeps it in the foundation, and the foundation like invests in all these like pharma companies for some reason, and he's like advocating for vaccines and all that, and it's kind of like he's even more evil in my view as a result of that. But that's one reason why a lot of people give to charity, is to sort of change their public profile. I think other people, there are actually people that want to make the world better, and they're focused on that. They just maybe don't know how, and they end up giving to the Red Cross without like knowing what they do or how they do it, or what the things around them are. But I mean, at least their intent is more, hey, let's cure some of these people of suffering and things like that. But the reason I think I want to donate is because I can see that the impact that the money that I would be giving would be greater than the price appreciation of the Bitcoin I hold. And like figuring that math, it's not too different than a startup, I think, except
Yeah.
instead of returns for yourself, it's returns for, I don't know, for the lack of a better way to phrase it, like returns for the betterment of humanity or something like that.
Like impact multiplication, I guess, or something.
Yeah, or how much better the world gets as a result of the money that you've deployed. And that's hard to measure, I would imagine, and that would be one of the big problems in making that calculation. It's first of all, like impact by itself is hard to measure, even within a very narrow scope. But like to then put that in the context of the entire world and how much you're actually changing things, so like I don't. How do you even go about doing
Yeah.
that, right? Like and
Overwhelming. It seems like it's overwhelming. I mean, even for
yeah,
go through right here, it's overwhelming.
yeah.
You identified two of the main reasons. The first one being legacy. They want their name on things, which is also it's helpful for them. Any business that they do to have their name on the local theater, the college, so on and so forth. The second one is justice because they want to help change the world. And then the third one that we didn't really go over is faith. That's really the three reasons that we've seen people give. Justice is by far the lowest. It's usually faith and legacy, and then way down the list you've got justice. And people that want to give because they really want to make an impact, they don't care about having their name on everything. That's who, at least for me, that's who I want to work with. I want to help them and provide them with advice on how to find the correct charity and what they can support. And then also how they can give in the most tax efficient way possible. Last night, so our first hotel, we found bed bugs and ticks right when we got here, and their AC was off. And so we immediately called, and we ended up at a Marriott, and they had a lawyer conference going on late at night. And we grabbed some food and talked to one of these lawyers, and started talking about donor advice funds. And they're eventually they said, "Well, isn't this just hiding money from the government?" And this guy would not get off the topic. He was so convinced that we were just hiding money from the government. That's not at all how we see it.
Well, it can be for someone like Bill Gates, but yeah,
it really could be.
Yeah.
In our case, and where I think Bitcoin really changes things is it's completely traceable. You can see everything that's going on. For our donors, they can see the second that money moves, they know where it went, they know who received it, and that's powerful.
Yeah, I can see that transparency being a part of the equation for that verification, right? Because not all of it, but it certainly helps to know. Okay, well, that money really did go over here, and yeah, these are the people that it affected, and so on. So instead of like requiring receipts, I guess you could just like look at the blockchain.
Sure.
That aspect is maybe unique with Bitcoin. And I don't know, you tell me, like, is the savings aspect of Bitcoin also useful? Because I imagine if you're able to give like a grant to, I don't know, some organization, right? They keep it in Bitcoin, then their runway is going to be significantly longer than sort of the traditional fiat donations that they get, and then they have to keep in whatever money market funds or something like that.
Yeah. I would love it if every charity would accept Bitcoin. I'd love it if they would hold it in kind. And honestly, we will even support if there is a charity that would like to hold it in kind. We can manage all of that for them.
I think like companies like River have a division for that, right? Like, they'll if I'm not mistaken, they'll help charities just hold their Bitcoin, and I think they even do it for cheaper if you're a nonprofit, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, we don't even charge.
Mhm.
We'll hold Bitcoin for them.
Mm.
We do believe it's a great store of value, and it
Mhm.
does help your runway significantly. Um, what do you do when, like, what is the end goal, I guess, with Bitcoin though, and like the way that you see it? Like, it's been hodl hold
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
as long as I can remember,
Mhm.
and what do we all do in the end?
Yeah.
Do we
What's it all
just leave
for?
our kids
Yeah.
rich and keep going like that, or like,
Well, so
what do we do?
this is a tweet from my friend Jeff Dice that I saw a while back, which I was like, okay, yeah, we should think about that. And all of these mega billionaires or whatever, they all talk about, oh, I want to give my money away before I die or whatever. He's like, and the tweet was, don't do that
Yeah.
because they're wasting it, or it's like, just give it to your kids. God knows that they have a better chance of using it wisely than these charities,
Mm,
because so many of them are, like you said, like just so inefficient, and not just inefficient, but many of them are corrupt. Many of
yeah.
them are like going against the things that you actually want them to do, and so on. So there is maybe some wisdom to leaving it to your children. So like at least waiting for a world where charity isn't so screwed up as it is now,
Yeah.
to maybe donate. But yeah, I, it, it's a good question. I'm not sure. All right. I do want to make an impact. And I do want to make sure that what I do with the Bitcoin is not like completely selfish, right? It's not all Lambos and whatever. It's but like what that looks like specifically, I don't know if I have a good vision for that yet. And I don't think a lot of people do. I mean, I know I want to, um continue raising my kids well,
Yeah.
and doing a lot of things that that are going to set them up for success. And I want grandchildren, I want great grandchildren. I would love to be around to see them and all that. So there's some investment going into health and nutrition and all that stuff. um but like ultimately what happens with that money, I'm not entirely sure, right? Like, and I guess this is why people think about charity, about giving, is they're in a sense like looking for what impact they can have, and where their sort of passion aligns with that. But if I'm being honest, I'm not sure I've thought that much about my passion per se with regard to that. I mean, I'm passionate about Bitcoin. I think sound money all over the world
Yeah.
will definitely improve the lives of people more than we can expect. Like more than almost any other change. Does that mean that I fund charities related to that? I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
is it? Yeah, and like, what would that even look like? I don't know, but yeah, it's a good question. I'm not sure how to answer it. Yeah.
You did mention though leaving Bitcoin and funds to your children. I think
Mm-hmm.
that is what most will do.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of the guys that have been holding forever, they continue to live a pretty frugal life.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, their children have more than they ever thought they would. And a lot of times, they haven't been taught the lessons and learn from a young age how they can create a positive impact. I mean, that's kind of it seems like the lesson that you're going through right now is, and trying to find is, how do I create my impact?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I would suggest is, can you make it a habit and a practice? Can you do something at home now to start teaching your children
Mm-hmm.
to be a successful philanthropist?
Mm. Yeah, I mean that used to be common, right? Among the aristocracy, the idea of noblesse oblige was something that
Yeah.
you pass down to your children, and help them with. Um, the problem right now is that entire space is sort of taken over by sort of the fiat charities that we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Like there are if you want to give, there are hundreds of organizations that will pitch you,
Yeah.
right, on like why you should give to them, and they're oftentimes very emotionally manipulative and so on to get your money, which is not very different than sales of any random product or whatever. Um, but yeah, and part of um, that in a fiat world is that you kind of have to teach your kids to be like super cynical,
Yeah.
which I'm not sure is like it doesn't feel right to me, right? Like to be like, hey, you need to be like suspicious of everyone, blah blah blah. Like that's not a great way to live, right?
Mm.
So, yeah, but at the same time, if you don't do that, if you get have them be like too trusting, then you kind of end up with you know hundreds of millions being donated to some hospital or something, right? Like where it's like going to paper pushers that are working on the billing to get paid by insurance or something rather than like actual people getting
Yeah.
healed.
Well, I mean, you've got inputs and outputs. You're a
Yeah.
developer, and I'd say you probably have taught your children, even if it's just subconsciously, all about inputs and outputs. Um, I wouldn't necessarily say that teaching your children to donate to a nonprofit or an organization is the right move, but I do think that making helping them be more conscious about what they're giving to and finding their passion, I think that could be really important. And it might be like, for example, we've done bee farming in Africa. There's no nonprofit that was set up for that. It was just here's what this one family wanted to do, and this is how they went about doing it, and we helped them along the way. For you guys, it might be something totally different. Maybe you want to save the polar bears in Antarctica, and there's no one working on that. So you want to figure out how you can do it and how you can be effective while doing it. And that's where we've come into play. And one thing that I really haven't thought through that I am thinking through as we talk is maybe we do need to offer some sort of service to families so that they can find whatever they're passionate about and make giving more effective, a habit and something that when you leave the house at 18 that you continue to think about and apply in your daily life. There's really not that many people that would do that now.
Yeah. I mean that used to be sort of like the aristocracy, right? Like, if you had wealth, then you would go into some form of public service, whether that was charity or politics even.
Yeah.
Right? Like the idea being that you didn't need the money, so you'd be sort of free from the financial burdens, and therefore you could put more of your effort into that. And I have friends that are fairly well off where their children kind of are thinking in those terms, where they're like, okay, I don't have to make lots and lots of money. I can instead gear my career or life towards benefiting others, going towards bettering the world. And I don't know how impactful that is, and how whether like I'm a libertarian, so for me, like starting a business and like providing value is probably as impactful. And it sounds like from what you're saying with the charities that are successful, they kind of operate that way anyway. So there's something about that which I think I think was missing in that whole idea of noblesse oblige, that maybe needs to be modified a little bit. But I mean, that general idea of leaving the world better off through your efforts, and being able to do that because you have savings and you have a cushion, that seems to be something that would be useful to teach kids.
Yeah, and I think going back again, it's a lot of people think in the charitable world that your only input is cash. It's fiat. But it's just not. Sometimes it's your time, sometimes it's your knowledge and your expertise that you can provide.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's your entrepreneurial experience that you have in the startup world. I think that it all plays into it, and it should all be taught from a younger age, so that when you get to the point where you're in your 50s, then that's when people start really thinking about their legacy and impact. 50, 60, 70. You're not starting from nothing. It's become a lifelong journey where you know how to do it.
Yeah, and I think my faith definitely is part of that, and I think that's something that my children have in getting more acquainted with that and really trying to figure out what that means. Of course, they have to sort of own it themselves to get to maybe the next level, but I can at least assist in getting them to a certain level of knowledge on that. But yeah, all right. I want to switch gears a little bit. All right, so let's talk about some charities that you think are impactful. I think just like pitch me, right? like I think it. A lot of my podcast viewers and listeners would appreciate maybe getting some leads, right? Because, like you said, a lot of them don't know their passion. They don't know like how they want to impact the world. Sometimes it's nice to have like a menu, right, and be like, okay, well, what do I feel like today? Right? So pitch me on some that you have.
Okay, so let me actually start this with that's a common question, and I dropped out of my master's in machine learning, but it was pretty AI focused, and what I wanted to create was a one-stop go-to, and you can do this with ChatGPT. You can do this just about anything, which is the reason that we didn't need to create an app for it. But if you go in and you say, I'm passionate about, for mine it was skateboarding and helping troubled youth. That's not something that you can typically go through and Google and find a list of nonprofits for. But now with the help of AI, you totally can do it. And you can also track outcomes. You can see what the kids are like and some of that other stuff. As far as the most effective charities that I can just run off of a list and give people like the short list, I'd say the most effective one that I can think of right now is most likely the Hansen Ukrainian mission, which it's working in Ukraine. It's providing housing. It's recently when I went out there, it was they were building a care center. They'd have it full memory care, housing for I think 600 to 1,000 elderly individuals that have lost their homes, sometimes their families, and everything to the war that's going on there. Just so impactful. Right now they're building a school. They keep on a great budget. It's very impressive. And actually, if someone does have the means they would really like to see, then I'll fly them out, let them see what it's like. We'll make sure that they can see that.
Go to Ukraine?
Yeah, go to Ukraine. We'll take armored convoy through the. You don't need to wait. We'll make sure that you get directly in, directly out, and it will be safe.
Okay,
I can guarantee that. If you want to come,
I'm just wondering how. Like that just sounds kind of crazy, but yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you because I actually waited a pretty long time to tell my wife that I was going, but then once I got out there, I realized that we can make it a very safe trip, and I do think it's something that you should try to go on if you've got someone that's passionate about giving and they want to see where they could create an impact. That's probably the first place that I'd recommend. For me personally, I had raised money for a South Pacific Fund, which is what I was passionate about. We ended up divesting those funds into Ukraine because I felt like there was a larger need there than in the South Pacific. But that's probably the first one that comes to mind. And then I think all of the others, it really takes it takes some individual preference. Like I want to know what you're passionate about, and
well, I mean, assuming you're talking to a general audience.
Yeah.
Like
Just
list some
general.
of them, right? Like I think you mentioned the other one with a bunch of ex-cons that
Yeah, the
are
other side
yeah,
village
yeah,
and other side
that
academy.
sound that those are two that you mentioned on them. Are there any others that you would say are very effective? Like even if they're not your passion, at least you can go study them and see what they're doing right.
I mean, another one that's not as sustainable,
Mm-hmm.
but does need donations that I've seen they're highly effective.
Mm-hmm.
It's, oh man, I'm gonna have to come back and give you
Mm-hmm.
actually, let me just find I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
send a message about the exact name.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's a Akoa out of Hawaii, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's a guy. His name is I believe it's Greg Asner, but
Mm-hmm.
he's the world's foremost coral expert, and he's
Okay.
trying to restore coral reef
Mm-hmm.
and replant it, but in a way that's scalable.
Mm.
So they've got a plane, they've gone through and they've done LiDAR scanning and mapped
Mm-hmm.
out the
Mm-hmm.
coral reefs. And you'll notice, like in Florida, it's gone. The coral
Mm-hmm.
that you once saw when I was a kid, it's totally gone, dead. In Hawaii, it's becoming it's a similar
Mm-hmm.
tragedy that's been happening. And I know that he's been raising money, and he has all the tech. Now it's just scaling his solution to replant coral.
Mm-hmm.
On
Obviously not
everything.
sustainable necessarily, but something that you
Yeah.
think they're deploying the money very well.
Yeah, deploying the money very well and successfully, and they've got great partnerships. They're partnered up with the University of I think maybe it's Arizona State. I can't remember exactly, but they've got good partnerships. I mean, apart from those three, I'm not sure if I can give you a great answer. It really takes some due diligence and a deep dive into what the person wants to have done, and then helping them create a general list. But I mean, to anyone that is listening, reach out to me personally, and I'll make sure that you get the resources that you need to find a successful and effective charity.
What if there isn't, right? Because you made the point earlier that it's like 99% are kind of terrible at it.
That's what we need to look at too.
Yeah.
Like maybe it's not going to a charity, and that's where we should talk and discuss, and let's figure out how you can deploy funds. Maybe it's into a startup that's just getting started.
Okay.
Maybe it's giving funds to that random guy that's going to make a difference. But we can help you do it in a way that you're not going to be scrutinized by the IRS, and much better.
Okay. All right. Well, this might be a good time for you to tell people how they can reach you or find you, and what shill your stuff basically.
I think just reaching out, and you can reach out to me personally if you'd like, and not to overwhelm my personal phone number. Calling is actually great. You can also text me, but my work phone number here is 385-286-5901.
It's a first. I've never
give me
had
a call.
give their
give
phone
me
number on.
That's a work number, so maybe I can slightly shield it. But I really do want to help you find your whatever you can do to create a charitable impact.
Okay.
And I think that you got to get on a personal level for this. It's just not going to be something that's very effective if you don't.
Okay.
In the weeds, you know what I mean? And we still got to work on yours. Apart from that, we'll help you be as efficient as possible with your tax planning, and as impactful as possible when you go to deploy those funds.
Okay. Any website or Twitter handle? Or
so
like
uicharitable.org. So letter U, letter I used to stand for University Impact. We'd hire students early on and transform. But uicharitable.org. And my name's Jacob, so feel free to reach out there.
Okay. All right, great. Well, thanks for being on, and hopefully a lot of the listeners and watchers of this podcast could maybe start figuring out what to do with all the Bitcoin that they have. So yeah, hopefully.
I'm excited to work on it.
All right.